All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Emergency Council meeting today on the 21st of December. First of all, we'll ask Dale Marie to open with a karakia, please.
Morena tātou. Ka ki roto, ha ki waho, kia tau te Māori e kōkiri nei, I ngā piki me ngā heke. Te rangi Māori e mātou e rapu nei, ti hei Māori ora. Breathe in, breathe out, settle the Māori that stirs inside of us. Through the ups and the downs, it is peace that we seek.
Thank you, Dale Marie. Might need some of that today. All righty. First of all, we'll call for apologies. I don't see Mike Pettit online at this point, so we might just put Mike Pettit in as an apology for now. We are hoping that he will join us a little bit later. Also, don't see Councillor Gower online.
He is online.
Oh, he is online? Oh, good Lord. Okay. Yeah, just use the photograph, Marcus, that's better. So we've got online then, we've got Philip Coles. I see you, Philip, me, Susan, morning, Susan, and Marcus. And at this point, we'll just keep the apologies as Mike Pettit, and hopefully he may join us a little bit later. Is that covering everybody? Right, Claire's happy to move and Lou is happy to second. All in favour? Aye. Carried. Are there any disclosure of members' interest this morning? No one believes they do. Excellent. Right, that brings us to our only item, which of course is our reason that we are here today, our 2024-34 long-term plan response to the anticipated repeal of Affordable Waters. So, Kirsty and Melissa, welcome. Good morning, and I'll hand over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. So, as you'll be well aware, we received formal notice from government on Thursday last week of their intention to repeal the Waters Entity Act. So we don't have a huge amount of detail of what this looked like, but we have been given, I guess, substantial kind of guidance as to what we can expect and to help us in the planning process. But we're expecting this change to take effect sort of towards the end of February next year. So like all councils, this is going to have a significant impact on our long-term plan just because of the timing of this. So we had anticipated that this change would happen. We just didn't know when, and we didn't necessarily know exactly what it would look like. It's largely to say that the timing of this is what's going to cause the most significant impact. So guidance from the DIA has been explicit in saying that we need to be planning for a long-term plan that now includes the provision for water services and for the full 10 years of the long-term plan. The approach that we've taken to date in preparing the 24-34 long-term plan has been one, to meet legislative compliance. So in keeping with what's required under the Waters Entity Act, we have included waters in for years 1 and 2. In terms of what the government has, the guidance that the government has provided us to date, again, given the timing of when this is coming into effect, they have given us leniencies in terms of getting us through the process between now and to adoption. So I'll talk a little bit about what those leniencies are. But before I cover that off, I just want to say that our approach to preparing the long-term plan to get us through to adoption is to try and stay the course as much as possible. So acknowledging that, yes, there are provisions available for us to flex in response to what will be required of us, but without our approach is to try and make this as less disruptive as possible. So in terms of the two major points that we may need to take advantage of, so the first, as covered off in the report, is around not requiring the consultation document to be audited. This is important for us that we have I guess, checks and balances in place to protect us from any kind of probity issues. So although we will be planning for the audit to be conducted by Audit New Zealand, if that's not possible, a fallback option is for a peer review, someone suitably qualified to do a peer review of our consultation document through that audit lens. The other thing that will give us a little bit of flex is around the extension of the deadline. So currently the long-term plan is required to be adopted before 30 June next year. What the guidance that we've been given is that under the new legislation, the deadline will be 30 September, so a 3-month leniency. We're not looking to take full advantage of that. The reason being it does have rating implications in terms of cash flow, contractual arrangements, so on and so forth. There are provisions within the Rating Act that would allow us to bill for invoices, I guess, to support cash flow, so it becomes less disruptive, but that in itself is quite a thing to go through. So there are provisions there, but we are going to try and avoid that as much as possible. So in terms of that extension deadline, we're looking to use up to a maximum of a month. So we're saying 31st of July will be the maximum that we'd be looking to push a deadline out to. There are a couple of other things that I'd just like to bring your attention to with respect to this item. So currently, as we've got planned, there is a meeting, SPMP meeting scheduled for the 18th of January. The intention of this meeting was to present the consultation topics and the draft budget as it was currently standing, with the purposes to get that locked in so then we could draft a consultation document with certainty. Because now the finance team have to put in waters for years 3 to 10, it's looking like we will not make that deadline, and therefore we no longer need that meeting. The approach of this going forward is that finance will do what they need to do, and then we'll draft a consultation document on the basis of where we landed at the workshop on the 12th of December. Thank you, Kirsty. Yeah, so that's what will be happening with the consultation document. The caveat with that is audit are scheduled to come in on the 7th of February, so there isn't any flex there. And that's the point, I guess, at which things will start getting a little bit tricky around whether or not we can make the deadline for consultation or auditing of the consultation document. So I just wanted to note that point. And just lastly, as we've been going through this process, the intention has always been that we would consult on this long-term plan alongside the formal consultation for Ahuaki. So with the forward work program for the long-term plan and the timeframes around that being, I guess, less certain, our intention is very much still for those two consultation processes to be run concurrently. Together they tell quite a nice story, and there's synergies between the two stories that these documents can tell to the community. Our thinking is that if there was a desire to separate them, it would have to be quite sort of months apart, as opposed to 1 month we go out with the LTP and then the next month we go out with Ahuaki, or vice versa. That we're thinking that would be quite confusing for the community, and just, yeah, a bit of a missed opportunity in terms of us being able to tell that cohesive story. So on that note, happy to take the rest of the report as read, and happy to take questions.
Lovely, thank you for that, Melissa. That was an excellent explanation of the report in front of us, and I think a good explanation of the recommendation actually in front of us as well. So happy to open the floor for questions. We'll start with Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for that. Personally, I'm quite happy to forego the audit of the consultation document. But I'd like, what would the peer review look like? Who do we think, you know, not necessarily a person, but generally would do it, and what cost would be involved?
Sounds like this
Okay.
is a Ken question.
Yeah,
Ken.
look, through the chair, I'll address that. Yeah, look, I think the report does make it quite clear that our intention is to still you know, go ahead with the audit. Yeah, that does come at quite a cost. So yeah, so last time around 3 years ago, the LTP audit, so that was the audit of the consultation document, plus the audit report on the final adopted LTP, which is required under legislation as well. Collectively, those two things cost us $109,000. Now that was 3 years ago. Yeah, we've had quite a spectacular hike in the audit fees for the annual report. Yeah, we do not have any fee indication from audit yet for this coming LTP. But look, I could you know, I would easily expect that to you know, to go up substantially. So yeah, you know, could easily be in the region of 150,000, or yeah, you know, even possibly even higher. So look, it does come at a cost, but I guess it does yeah, it does provide quite a degree of credibility to our particularly, I think, to our consultation document. So the focus of that audit and the report that we get at the end of the audit process in regard to the consultation document is you know, very much an indication to the public, to the ratepayer, that consultation document is suitable to base our consultation on. That's essentially the whole thrust of what that audit is about. So look, it does add you know, quite a degree of you know, confidence, assurance to the process. So the report does make it quite clear that our intention is still to go down that track. It would only be if timeframes become you know, almost impossible or very, very difficult. That would be the point where we'd say, hey, well, look, we potentially need to forego this. And in regard to what the alternative is, look, yeah, I guess because this is so new in terms of yeah, you know, just dropped on us really Thursday last week, in terms of any of these things you know, being an option, they've come completely out of the blue. Yeah, look, we haven't really thought too much about what alternative yeah, you know, could exist. Yeah, I'll have to, and of course we're you know, right in the lead up to Christmas, so I'll put out some feelers in the early part of next year. Yeah, you know, when I'm back relatively early in January. Yeah, you know, just yeah, just check yeah, you know, who might be options in that space. But it is very much a fallback option that we'd land in that place really for us at this stage.
Thank you for that, Ken. Gary.
So, Andrew, we do have the Audit New Zealand self-assessment checklist that we can use as a basis for that audit.
Follow-up, not really a question. You know, a suitable person, I'd be perfectly happy with a review by a suitable person or organisation. You know, I do think audit can get, it's expensive, yes, as acknowledged, and you know, a review by a suitable person, organisation, I think would be perfectly acceptable, and probably at substantially lesser cost. Although, of course, you know, I acknowledge the long-term plan itself will be audited, and they will probably be looking at the consultation as well. So whether you actually save anything, not.
Yeah, so through the chair, I mean, one thought that did cross my mind, but again, have not had the opportunity to discuss this with audit, in wake of the proposed legislation that actually removes the requirement for audit. Yeah, you know, there is a possibility that that Audit New Zealand themselves may offer some sort of you know, scaled back review. And yeah, but like I say, I just have not had opportunity to discuss that with them. but that is something that in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, actually, I wonder if that's an option. No longer the legislative requirement for a, for a full audit, but maybe they would be open to, some sort of review. I mean, they do know our business well. They do know the requirements in regard to consultation well, etc. There may be no better people than them, but perhaps in a scaled back form. But yeah, like I say, just haven't had the opportunity to have that discussion at this stage.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, Claire.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think that your report, definitely shows the difficult situation that council staff are in and trying to get these really important documents, especially the budgeting and the spreadsheets and all that. So I've got two main concerns really. The first is that we've been going over quite a lot of detail in the timing of the various projects that are going to take a lot of rate impact here, like that sort of there's quite a that would be funded by ratepayers over. We've been sort of concentrating on those first 2 years or a bit of the 3 years, because at that time Waters was in for the 2 years, but not the third year. And so if Waters do go in, obviously for the 10 years, but I'm thinking of that third year, it may be that the rating impact might be at such a level that we think we need to actually do a bit more shuffling around or trade-offs or whatever. So if we are expected to sign off the whole budget and that on the 7th of February, like that will be the only time, there's nothing in between. And I can appreciate why you don't think there's any necessary, I suppose, driver to keep that 18th of January meeting. Yeah, but it just makes me feel a bit uncomfortable that we might be in a situation where we'll look at year 3 and then the revised budget and think, oh man, this is in the comfortable place. Yeah. So is there any kind of some sort of
Right, I think both Melissa and Ken want to speak to this, so Melissa, please speak.
So absolutely acknowledge your concerns, and ultimately we don't know what that year 3 will look like until we start running the numbers. One of the fallback options that we are looking at is potentially a workshop on the 30th of January. As I say, don't know what they're going to look like if they are significantly different to what we've presented to you today. We will be looking towards that as an option to start revisiting some of those discussions, some of those projects as you've talked about.
Thank you, Melissa. Ken?
Look, so in terms of the figures, one of our earlier iterations of the draft budget did see the percentage, the overall headline rates percentage, including Waters, being 9.46% in year 3. So look, like not but departing majorly from from where we are without the Waters. So look, some things have moved on since then that those numbers do need reworking, but it certainly wasn't scarily different from the numbers that we presented on the 12th of December. But I guess from there on in, year 4 onwards is a little bit of an unknown. In fact, it's a completely unknown factor at this stage. So a reasonable degree of confidence in terms of year 3 that does not look too tricky. But year 4 onwards could be an issue, because look, we totally acknowledge the concern. Councillors, you'll be well aware that right around that time, not only are there a few community facility type projects on the go, there is also around about that time is obviously the Cambridge wastewater treatment plant coming into its up and running stage. So like I say, we can sort of see the impact of those things for the first 3 years years, and yeah, you know, those are high increases compared to what we've been. Yeah, you know, I'm sure we will have feedback from the community in that regard. But yeah, look, we just need to really work through those numbers. Yeah.
Thank you. Look, thank you for that, Ken. And just on that issue, and I know you've got another question, but just on that particular issue, I think I'd really encourage the workshop for the 30th of January. I'm anticipating, based on your remarks there, Ken, that the 10-year plan could look significantly different, in particular, you know, the Cambridge wastewater treatment plant. So I suspect, for me, this is a little bit back to the drawing board. So I kind of want to workshop all of the community projects in with the projected, you know, rates increases over the 10 years with all the waters in, so that we can have a full picture and have the time to process that. Because obviously these are significant decisions to be made. So yeah, really appreciate the idea of the 30th of January. Now, Claire, second question.
Yeah, the second question was just, I suppose voicing, I suppose, my concerns or lack of comfort around combining the Ahuaki consultation with the LTP consultation. Yeah, so it was kind of covered in the webinar as well. And I just feel that both of those processes have got a lot of material in them, a lot of concepts, a lot of new stuff in that. I guess I need a bit more reassurance that staff feel they can do justice to both of them in the one process. Yeah, because I think both of them deserve, you know, full attention from our community. And in fact, I think the Ahuaki works has been outstanding, and that the material that we've got from it is really exciting. And I wouldn't want the sort of desire to try and streamline things and fit into this framework, you know, this timeline, but which has been, you know, foisted on us, and to mean that the outcomes aren't as actually as good as we would have hoped.
Thank you, Claire. Kirsty.
So through you, Madam Chair, thank you, Councillor Clare. As you're all well familiar, the project plans for the LTP and Ahuaki have gone through the various PCGs, and that has included endorsement of timeframes. Ahuaki, we were working to have this adopted last year, mid this year, as you know, and we've extended the project scope and timeframes to enable enhanced community participation. The engagement that we undertook in February and March of this year for Ahuaki actually provided the pre-engagement for the long-term plan. Ahuaki, and through its development, has guided development of the long-term plan in terms of the business case preparation, the prioritisation process that has been undertaken to date. The two things are interlinked. Ahuaki provides high-level, long-term, future-focused direction. It provides for the joining up of all of our planning, prioritisation, investment, service and project delivery. So I guess as the group manager responsible for delivering both of these projects, I see that ultimately there are huge gains to be had from consulting with our wider community by bringing those two things together, being able to tell a full and complete story. I think for people who have participated in providing feedback to Ahuaki, then being able to see what that looks like in years 1 to 3 and 4 to 10 of the long-term plan, and then, you know, with a view to beyond that. So hand on heart, I think that is definitely the best approach that we can possibly take. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsty. Completely agree. Roger.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for this. It took me a little while to read this document and to work out what the implications were. I suppose I've got two questions, if I may. And one is very similar to Claire's in terms of looking at the capital projects and replacements that we had previously put in because we were responsible for 3 waters in years 1 and 2 of the 10-year plan. And I suppose I'm being a little bit, what would I have done if I was managing a business unit and I was faced with some increased costs? Would I perhaps in year 2, knowing that I wasn't going to be responsible for them in year 3, have deferred some of the capital projects and replacements so they became the responsibility of the new entity? Is that going to affect us? Because now they're ours and we've got to budget for them. I just needed to ask that question to see if in fact there were things that had been deferred that actually now we are going to be responsible for. Is that question clear?
Absolutely. I'm not too sure if we've got the right staff, but we'll give,
Yeah.
Ken can have a go.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I'm just looking, Dawn isn't
No.
available. No, I mean, obviously Dawn would be the best to answer that question. But look, Roger, my understanding is that, waters reform in the mix or waters reform not in the mix. We have, quite hand on heart, planned our program as if we would actually own these assets, all the way through. I mean, it's our community, and that includes the people in this room actually, who are absolutely reliant on these water services, whether it be water and wastewater or stormwater, in the long run. Nobody would, I guess we're working on the premise was that nobody would thank us if we didn't dutifully look after these assets for the entire time they were in their ownership. So sure, we constructed a draft LTP on the basis that we'd only own them for 2 years and then they'd go to another entity. But look, whether it's council or whether it was another entity, we want this core infrastructure to be working well for our community for many years into the future. We did not, or certainly not to my knowledge, but basically dropping the expenditure in the meantime on the basis that the ownership would change.
Thank you, Ken. Kirsten.
Through you, Madam Chair, endorse what Ken has said, and just to add further that there is a comprehensive master plan that has been developed for Three Waters, and that has informed the information that was provided to the Department for Internal Affairs. And that is what's informed what is being prepared for Three Waters, included in the long-term plan for years 1 and 2 and beyond. That's going to now be inputted into the plan. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Roger, question number 2.
Thank you. Yeah, question number 2. Before question number 2, can I just endorse the concern that you'd expressed in terms of our borrowing commitments going forward now in a 10-year plan that is going to include all of Three Waters, and how much that will impact our capital borrowing limit and whether we can afford to do everything. So just sharing your concern there. But the question was, and I did ask Gary this beforehand, but perhaps seeing as this is a public meeting, Gary, you might like to give us again an answer to that question that I asked about the rate setting, because of course our time frame has now moved out to the 31st of July, and how much are we allowed to go out with a rates invoice to our ratepayers that reflects what will be the new 10-year plan, and whether that will have an impact on our cash flow. You've already answered me the question, but I think worthwhile repeating it on the public forum.
Sure. So Ken might add a little to this response, but to your first question around debt and Waters, if Waters stays with us, of course, the revenue for Waters stays with us. So whilst there will be some impact on our debt headroom, to a large extent, that's mitigated by the revenue that comes with the Three Waters, because that stays with us too. In relation to the transitional provisions that the government have announced, that is that they would say you can extend your deadline to adopt your LTP for 3 months. Under those circumstances, if you did that, that would create a significant cash flow issue. So you have an option of invoking a section of the Rating Powers Act that allows you to rate 25% of the previous year's rate and then wash off the balance over the next 3 instalments. We don't intend to go there. Instead, if we were to adopt at the end of July, we would simply look to strike the rate then, prepare our rates invoices and send the first invoice out for the first instalment. It might be 4 weeks later than this year, but no need to invoke that section of the Rating Powers Act, which would give rise to a 25% rate of the previous year. Ken, have you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, look, yeah, Gary, I think you've expressed that quite well. So we are, as Gary said, legislatively enabled by Section 50. It's actually Section 50 of the Local Government Rating Act to do that 25% thing. But look, in view of the fact that we know the year one rates increase is going to be fairly high. That's certainly not our preferred alternative. And in fact, actually, that's while we've also checked that our software that we use is capable of doing that, and that's got the big tick, it would put quite a lot of additional work on the rating team. Will also significantly or has the capacity to significantly confuse the public in terms of what's this, and of course all the impacts of the installments 2, 3, and 4. The washout as Gary described it. Those would be significantly higher as well. So look, it's a route that's available to us. It's legislatively enabled. Our software can handle it. But look, it's not our preferred approach. Our preferred approach is if we can meet the timeframes that are indicated in the report in front of you today, is that we simply just delay instalment 1 by about a month or so. So whereas it would normally be payable by the 21st of August, it would have to be would have to be pushed out to perhaps be payable 21 September. Installments 2, 3, and 4 can remain the same. Council has full control and full enablement in terms of how it in terms of the timing of any instalments that it chooses to rate. That's just a part of the rating resolution. So we've got perfect ability to do that. Of course, the downside is that if we push instalment 1 out, potentially there's some cash flow ramifications we'd need to look at. I mean, obviously a quarter of our rates revenue is quite a substantial sum of money. So look, that cash flow potentially has been pushed out a little bit. Although I do note in that a number of our ratepayers are on direct debit arrangements. In fact, I think it might be 65% or so of our ratepayers are on direct debit arrangements. A lot of those direct debit arrangements are not so much tied to the instalments, but they're actually tied to people's salaries, like fortnightly. A number of ratepayers have set those up fortnightly. A number have set them up monthly. So that will help to mitigate those cash flow impacts and the cost of obviously pushing that instalment out. Stuff we need to work through, but assuming that we can have an LTP adopted by 31st of July, I think that's definitely the easiest way to manage the situation.
Okay, Roger?
Can I say, it's just a statement, I just endorse that approach because it becomes less confusing for the ratepayers. So yes.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Roger. And just welcome to Mike Pettit, has joined us online. Now, Lou, did you still want to say? You're next.
Yeah, I was going to actually endorse it.
Thank you, Liz.
Sorry. And endorse what Ken said. As I say, I think if we use a hybrid model, it has the ability for us to comply and also to operate. I was a little worried about your cash flow. With the 2 years for the Three Waters and the fact that we've got to now include the Three Waters, the Minister states here that we're going to have fit for service delivery models and financing tools. And they're going to improve the current council-controlled organisation with a new class of financially separate council-owned organisation. I think that's got to be given regard. It also comes down here, it says ensuring water services are financially sustainable. This is from the Minister himself. And financially sustainable means revenue sufficiency. So are they going to give us some funds? Look, I know we can all smile, but he's written it. And it says balance sheet separation and ring fencing and funding for growth. So we might not be looking as an individual council totally at covering. I know this is conjecture. We've had governments tell us so many things, but when a minister writes and puts it in a public document, he has to be accountable. I just make that comment.
But that's only in relation to any new entity, I think. It's not for existing council.
I think it says here, the way it's written is that all the keeper of delivery of all water services. So we're part of that.
I guess
We
the
deliver
answer is we
water
just
services.
simply don't know.
Well,
So
I don't know, but we-
we'll wait. We'll wait for the detail, but no, good point, Lou, you never know. Now, so Andrew and then Monty.
So look, I'm totally in favour of Ahuaki and LTP consultation being done together and being done well, obviously. I guess the concern I have with pushing out timeframes is squashing the workloads, particularly for Ken's team, up in the time after. So I'm pretty happy with the 1 month idea. I think that probably relieves, 3 months. I think I don't know, Ken. This is me presuming, but I felt it would put your team under a lot of pressure to deliver in the audit that would be delayed and all sorts of stuff. So, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, look, I can comment on that because actually we may not have quite covered that in the report that's in front of you, and my apologies there. This did have to come together in a very short time frame, obviously. But look, one of the things about that transitional provision, and it's certainly referred to in the minister's letter, is that if a council was to take advantage of the extended deadline for the adoption of the LTP, i.e., any time obviously between 1 July and 30 September, being the extension of time, there would also be an extension of time for the deadline for adopting the annual report. So the government has obviously seen seen the potential for that for that crunch. And in terms of, oh goodness, if there's a really late LTP, then that's going to impact in terms of an annual report. So the deadline for that has been also pushed out. I suppose effectively by a couple of months. They're talking about that being the 31st of December. They'll revert to a time frame where the deadline for adoption of the annual report is not 31st of October, but rather 31st of December. So look, that gives us a wee bit of flex that if that if our LTP is late adopted or adopted end of July, we would actually have potentially up to an extra couple of months for the annual report. Not that we'd be necessarily looking to use that because it's definitely always good to get the annual report signed off so that you can carry on with the activities of the current year. But we do have that flexibility as well, which certainly mitigates the issue that you're talking about.
Thank you, Ken.
I guess with more the activities of the following year that I was somewhat concerned about, but I'm sure you've thought about that. So.
Yeah. Look, potentially there could be a little bit of impact, but look, if we minimise, the extension of time for the LTP, I think that's all, all very, very manageable, and in terms of ordinary transactions and ordinary monthly and full monthly reporting, etc. I'm sure the finance team can work to that.
Monty.
Right. No, not a question, just my position statement on this. Just fully support all of this. I think this is great. Big congrats to the strategy team, the finance team. I read this and just went, yes, the whole way through. This was a really cool solution. And I had expressed in audit and risk and the workshops my discomfort with proceeding the way we were ever since the election. I thought it was really odd that we were proceeding on the basis of doing an LTP with waters in only years 1 and 2. This makes me miles more comfortable. I just think it's really good. So fully support, and thanks to the whole team. I think this is really, really good solution. So that's me. There's a tiny amendment in the recommendation when we get there. B refers to B1 and B2. It should be B2 and B3, okay?
Okay, yes, and just on that, we also want to make a wee amendment to E of the recommendation, and that is to include the 30th of January workshop. Right, and of course, making the change to B. Do we want to put the new resolution up, or are we happy just with making those little tweaks? We've discussed them, everyone's happy? We're going to wait for Joe to tell me that B2 and B3 sound like a vitamin. All right, so we'll just get the those tweaks made, and then we will. I think we've got to a point, a very happy place actually. We're all happy with the recommendations, so. So after the discussion going on in the background, are we all in agreement? Yeah, I think so. All right, let's just take a couple of minutes break, everybody, and we'll just get that resolution, the recommendations amended, and then we'll come back and move those in a moment.
Liz, can you folks hear me?
You sure can, Mike.
Oh yeah, all right. Hey, thank you. So yeah, I've just landed and I'm about to get a ride in a plane, but I have been listening since I've got off, and yeah, and very happy with the recommendations, and I understand the little tweaks to it. But yeah, from what I read, absolutely makes sense. So yeah, so look, I'll wait around and I'll vote, but then I'll sort of switch myself off. If that's all right.
Yep, no problem. Once we have voted, we'll be ending the meeting, Mike.
All right. Yep. Right. I'll turn my video off.
Councillor Pettit needs a shave.
Wait, thank you. Okay. Okay, everybody, welcome back. We've got our recommendation tweaks up on the screen now, if anyone wants to take a wee look. On the screen. All right, everybody. So yeah, if you want to just ensure everyone is happy with that, I'm actually happy to move.
Just to note that because what you had there, because you were cancelling the 18th.
Madam Chair, I couldn't hear those last comments.
Yeah, we're not saying,
Apologies
we're
for
just getting Joe a microphone, so we're just on hold. Yeah.
So that first change was to add in, so it was the I to 3. So that was the one from Councillor Montgomery. With this one at E, what we've done instead of because the workshop will be a different nature to the SPMP committee meeting. So rather than, I've just moved the change down to the bottom of recommendation E, and just noting that a workshop will be now scheduled for the 30th of January. Hopefully that covers that off for everybody. Does anyone have any questions about those changes?
No,
No,
too good.
very straightforward. Okay, Monty's happy to move recommendations A through to G with the changes, and I see, was it Roger that was happy to second? Yes. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, thank you everybody for the short notice of this meeting and coming in today. Really appreciate that. Happy holidays to some of you that are online or not feeling well. Sorry, Susan. And yeah, we'll see you all again in the new year. Now we'll close with our karakia. We'll just close with our karakia.
Ai, kia piki te ora kia koe e te rangatira, Susan. We hope you're feeling a lot better sooner, because that pool of yours is gorgeous outside and you need to be in it. Everyone have a great summer, a safe one, and look forward to seeing you all in the new year. Inuhia, inuhia, inuhia ki te uru tapu nui, kia wātea, kia mama, te nākau, te tinana, te wairua. Ko ia rā, kia whakairia ki runga, kia tīna, tīna. Haumie, huie, dai kie. Release us from the formalities of this gathering. Let our hearts, body and spirits be clear, be free to carry on with our day. Let our meeting be suspended, draw together, become intertwined. Kia